So there's this new game called The Finals, and if you're a big follower of the free-to-play scene, you may have already seen this title. For those who haven't, The Finals looks to be a team-based, multiplayer first-person shooter that totes a very impressive Destructible environment, very similar to some of the older Battlefield titles. And for good reason. This shooter is being developed by Embark Studios, which are newcomers to the gaming scene. However, 5 of the 6 Embark Studio co-founders are credited with many EA and DICE games, with the exemption of Johan Anderson, who had a background at Paradox Development Studio. All of Embark Studio co-founders were senior talent that had a hand in shaping some of the most beloved Battlefield games out there. Patrick Sunderland, the CEO of Embark Studios, is most notable as he was the executive VP of EA Studios back when they were releasing titles like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Alongside The Finals, they are also the studio that are developing a third-person shooter titled Archetypes, a game that I have been paying attention to since they revealed the trailer back at the 2021 Game Awards. Now, looking at the trailers for The Finals, it's plain and obvious to see that Battlefield was a clear inspiration for the amount of destruction in the game. Now, the premise of The Finals is that you are a contestant in a game show that places you in a dynamic virtual arena where you can alter, exploit, and destroy to your heart's content. In fact, on their website, they even say don't just pull triggers, pull down buildings. Which, if the engine can do what the studio says it can do, this will be one of the first fully destructible free-to-play games out on the market right now, and that is something I would love to see. Judging by the trailers, it sounds like Embark Studios also wants to get into the competitive esports scene, which, if pulled off correctly, may be one of the most highly dynamic, highly entertaining, and highly competitive scenes out there right now. So, what's the gameplay loop? Judging by the trailers, groups of 3 competitors scout out the map to find dynamically spawned boxes that contain cash. When found, you will need to find an extraction point that requires you to defend the box for a certain period of time, then the box is deposited. These virtual arenas look to be more skewed towards close quarters combat in urban style areas rather than a much more open battle royale style map design. According to one of the developers, these urban maps are fully destructible and they are all calculated server-side, which is a feat that cannot be scoffed at because it is extremely hard to code. That brings up one of my main concerns about the game, which is optimization. If all the calculations are done server-side, this means that it takes a load off of our computers, but what will that mean for the server itself? Are we going to experience a lot of hit registry issues or lag? How about the graphical demand of the game? Some of the older adult generation of gamers nowadays may remember that in order to play the Battlefield games, a lot of those on PCs at the time would end up having to run multiple graphics cards and SLI in order to maintain a decent frame rate. Now, aside from that, the game looks to be extremely fast-paced. To me, it's almost like a combination of Apex Legends with the movement mechanics of Call of Duty. It looks like the players will have a combination of many staple gun archetypes, from magnums and pistols to assault rifles and snipers to, surprisingly, a glue cannon from the Prey IP. It also appears as if the game has 3 different class archetypes: a light assassin style class that specializes in close quarters combat or maybe perhaps a sniper, the medium armor class that specializes in assault rifles and medium distances, and of course the heavy, which I'm assuming will be the class that holds a lot of the defensive Rainbow Six Siege style combat. Whilst The Finals is still in early development, there are some things that concern me. Primarily their monetization style. Obviously, for this game being a free-to-play title, I assume that there will be some form of a battle pass system, a trending trope of most games today and one that I absolutely despise. Will the customization of the game require egregious packs that require $20 like Call of Duty, or perhaps another loot box style game like Overwatch and Battlefield? What's going to be the microtransactions for this game? For those truly free-to-play gamers out there, what's the grind going to be like? Will you be able to catch up to those who have hundreds upon thousands of dollars of disposable income? How grindy will the progression of the game feel like? How repetitive is the gameplay loop? It is being published by Nexon, after all, and Nexon does have a trope of having many of their now defunct titles being generic first-person shooters. Games like Ghost in the Shell, First Assault, The First Descendant, Sudden Attack 1 and 2. Even some of their games from nearly a decade like MapleStory 2 flopped, or how about Vindictus? Their games and servers are now a shadow of its former glory, at least in the West. I am hopeful that the finals does end up being a fantastically paced and very fun shooter. In fact, the final releases a closed beta test on March 7th, and I cannot wait to see what it has in store. I do want this game to succeed, but can it topple the market and grab a hold of some market share away from titles like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Call of Duty Warzone 2.0? That's a question that remains to be answered. With that, I'm Jhaluvai, and thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, please run your fingers across your screen and gingerly tap on subscribe to make it understand just how gentle you really are. It'd be highly appreciated. If you want to see more of my content, simply navigate to the description where you'll see links to my Discord and personal YouTube channel. I appreciate your eyeballs, and I will see you in the next video.